Hi, I'm Cameron, and this is my tutorial video on how to play improvisations using a 12-hole key of C Dragontooth Ocarina by Songbird Ocarinas. Now, improvisations fundamentally are songs, so if you treat them as such, you'll be able to come up with them as easy as anything else you do. And the fundamentals of improvisations are, well, there are many things. There's your tempo, there's the arpeggio in which you're using, there are the notes between the arpeggio, there's articulation, and there's how you deliver your improvisation. All these are important. And first off, we need to familiarize ourselves with the notes of the 12-hole key of C Dragontooth Ocarina. And they are C, D, E, F, G, A, or the low A, with the two subholes covered, B, or the low B with only one subhole covered, and then C. And then there are three higher notes, D, E, and F, being played by lifting the thumb holes. C. This would be D by lifting your right hand thumb, E by lifting both thumbs, and F by lifting your pinky and having all the other fingers off. Now throughout the scale, you have to have the pinky down at all times, so left hand pinky, unless you play F, which would be only in the F major scale, which we're just going to be using the C major scale in this video for improvisations. Now, the arpeggio I mentioned earlier are the four notes in a key that make up the chord. In this instance, C, E, G, and then the octave C. C, E, G, C. Those four notes are the first, third, fifth, and eighth note of the scale, and that is how it will be in any key for any arpeggio. One of the other things I mentioned were important in improvisations were the notes you put in between the arpeggio, which would be anything other than the first, third, fifth, and eighth. So you could do D, F, A, and B. And that may sound odd to you because it has no notes of the arpeggio, or C, E, G, and C. So for improvisations, you need to make sure that you have those four notes in the song somewhere. Actually, they need to be probably two of the notes in every measure will be those four notes. For instance, a short improvisation could be I had notes in between C, E, and G, and I had the notes C, E, and G, made for a nice short improvisation. Another part of improvisations are the notes that you begin with and that you end with, which must be one of the arpeggio notes, or C, E, G, and C. Now for this ocarina, you can even do a high E because it's still an E, and an E is part of the C major arpeggio, so it'll still sound good. Now with a double ocarina, for instance, you could go even higher than that. You could use the high G and high C above that, and it'd still sound fine, because both of those still make up the C major arpeggio. Now one of the other parts of an improvisation is an articulation, which is how you play. For instance, staccato and legato. Staccato means short and separated. So like, legato is the exact opposite. It's very smooth and flowing. That doesn't necessarily mean slurred though. Slur is when you play two notes together. For instance, and I didn't tongue them at all, or separate the notes with your tongue by stopping air. That's a very important part of improvisations. It's probably as important as making sure you have one of the 4 C major arpeggio notes in your improvisation, or C, E, G, and C. That was the high E, because it still works, because it's still part of the C arpeggio. Now, your tempo can be completely up to you, and it can change within the improvisation as many times as you feel it should. For example, notice how I started and ended on C, because it's one of the notes of the C major arpeggio. And as long as you have one of those notes in your improvisation, it'll be fine. You just have to make sure that there are other notes thrown in between those notes, like anything other than the first, third, fifth, and eighth note of the C major scale, which any note beside that would be. So as long as you have that in your improvisation, it'll be fine. Now, a lot of times improvisations are completely up to you. They move as you do, and they feed off of your own thoughts. So if you're sad that day, you may have a more slow improvisation. You just have to let the music flow from you and let it come out of you as you want it to. That's the whole point of improvisations. Playing how you feel. I might have been happy that day, but maybe I just wanted to play something fast. So improvisations are a reflection of you. They don't have to be crazy fast or anything. They just reflect what you're feeling. So those are the main points of improvisations. And if you like this video, and I hope you learned a lot from it, you can learn to play improvisations very well. Now, an example of an improvisation could be something like this, because it has to include C, E, G, and C. It has to have notes in between it. You have to remember different articulation you can use, tonguing, slurring, staccato, legato, that kind of thing. Tempo, that's a big part, and just other things that you may want to throw in there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave